Okay, what's up, YouTube? This is J-Man Time, and today I have some kind of sad news, but kind of good news also. Now, last year I did a video on World War I and II mummies, or mummies of the First and Second World War. But today I have found an article of something interesting. It's something that is interesting on the same level as those videos. Now, on April the 24th of 2018, according to the Iranian, according to Iranian Twitter and various other Iranian newspaper sites, the mummified remains of Iran's first Shah, the Reza Shah Pahlavi, who was the leader of Iran and also the military leader of Iran from 1925 until 1941. He died in 1924, and his body went missing in 1979. But it seems that his body has been found under a construction site in Iran. Now, his body was mummified. But not only was it mummified, it was, according to this article, it was covered in some type of strange substance that kept it from rotting. Now, remember, his body was removed during the 1979 Iranian Revolution, or the Islamic Revolution, as they call it. This is where Reza Shah's son, Mohammad Reza Shah, was overthrown by the Ayatollah Khomeini and a bunch of other lower-ranking political groups in the country. Now, during this time period, the Shah's family mausoleum, where his body was being stored, was destroyed, and many of the bodies were either removed or have gone missing. But the most famous body was Reza Shah's body himself. His body went missing the same year. It was thought for many decades that his body was in Egypt, and there were also some theories that his body may have been thrown into the Persian Gulf by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. But this is impossible, as the Iranian military usually doesn't desecrate their dead like that. Maybe some politicians, but even during the Iranian Revolution, anyone who was of Iranian military origin, their bodies usually wasn't desecrated. So to see that his body was missing was strange, and for many decades it was thought that his body was either in Egypt or thrown into the Persian Gulf, or maybe hidden somewhere. Well, now we know that his body was actually hidden in the same area where the mausoleum once stood, or where his family's mausoleum once stood. As of now, it states that the Iranian government states that the body was reburied, but I don't know where. I don't see any articles that states where his body was reburied, but hopefully his body was buried with military honors. Keep in mind, Reza Shah wasn't the Western puppet that his son turned out to be later on. He was one of the more independent Iranian leaders. He wanted Iran to be very similar to, independent countries in Europe like Switzerland or Germany or Poland at the time. He wanted Iran to be independent, but also militarily strong. And in the 1930s, he signed various laws and regulations that were aimed at modernizing not only Iran's military, but also Iran's infrastructure, like schools, education, and healthcare system. So in the eyes of even the current mullahs and ayatollahs, the Reza Shah isn't viewed as really a negative figure, because without him, Iran probably wouldn't be all that modern today, as he set the groundwork for Iran's modernization. Now, his son became basically a U.S. puppet, and in a 1976 interview, he basically kind of confirmed that. If you were to look at the Mohammad Reza Shah's interview from 1976, he basically admits without saying that he basically became a U.S. puppet, which is something that his father was completely against. He didn't want his Reza Shah I, the one who died in 1944, didn't want Iran to be a puppet state. You saw what happened to Iraq. You saw what happened to other neighboring countries like Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan and Afghanistan. They all became puppet states of either the UK, France, the UK, or the US, or the Soviet Union. You know, all these countries became puppet states. And in 1941, Iran was invaded by both the UK and the Soviet Union. And it became temporarily a puppet state until 1946, when the Soviet Union and the UK forces pulled out. So, you know, Reza Shah and his son were like completely different. So the fact that his mummified body has been found is just strange, you know. Seeing those images is like, wow, it's like looking at an Egyptian mummy or something, but this is a guy who's been dead for not even 100 years. His body is pretty well preserved for being buried under a building for the last 40 years, but, you know, I mean, it's just strange. So what do you all think? Please tell me in the comment section below, and until next time, this was J-Man Time, signing off.
Zat-ı şahanlarını Türkiye kabul ettiğimizden dolayı çok mesut ve bahtiyarız efendim.
من نهایت خوشبختم تو آرزوی دیرینه که barım de muvaffak oldum.
Çok teşekkür ederiz efendim. Çoktan beri teşrif-i şahanınıza intizar ediyorduk efendim. Büyük hasretle ve derin samimiyetle. Çok mesuduz ki o mülakat gününe malik olmuş bulunuyoruz.
و نزد شاید بلسیز که نچه ایماندن قبا که من sizin nümayende خصوصا arz ederim ki geleceğim Türkiye'ye.
Çok teşekkür ederim. Çok teşekkür ederim. Tabii arkadaşlığımız çok eski zamandan, çok eski senelerden beri başlamış bulunuyor. Bunu şahsen birbirimizi tanımak suretiyle şüphesi çok kuvvetlendireceğiz efendim.
Rıflat şayet olmuştu sabır, vali mübarek afiyette cebran ediyor.
Hiç şüphe yok efendim. Biz de bütün memleketçe aynı fikir ve kanaattayız efendim. Arzu buyursanız yukarıda bir görelim efendim.
Buyurun.